7 a.m. And I am calling this meeting to order. Let us start with roll call.
Johnson.
Present.
Viper. Here. Markham. Here. Miller is in the building. Common.
He's in the building too.
Same. Long.
Here.
Spiz.
Present.
Smith Charles.
Present.
You have call.
Excellent. Let's stand for the pledge. I'll lead it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Takes us to item 4, the approval of minutes dated April 17, 2024. They include a closed session. Moved to approve by Commissioner Johnson, supported by Commissioner Long. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, I will we'll do a voice vote for this one. Which means all in favor, sign of yes or aye. Aye. Opposed by the same. Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you. Next is item 5, approval of the agenda. Take a motion to approve. Moved by Johnson, supported by Spiz. The agenda is before you. Take a good gander. Seeing no changes to the agenda, we'll go ahead and.
Maybe mention that.
Okay, yes. Right before this meeting, there was an LRIP meeting, so there's a couple of additional items that you should see. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 7F and item is it J? 9K. 9K, thank you.
Refresh or not?
Yeah, you may want to refresh just in case. Some of you probably have it, some of you don't.
9, what'd you say, 9? I got page 9.
And if there's no changes or additions to the agenda, we can do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same? Hearing no opposed, that motion carries. Our agenda is set, buckle up. Item 6 on the agenda is public comment. We have 3 minutes allotted per speaker related only to items on the agenda. Is there anyone here from the public who'd like to address the committee about items on the agenda? Seeing no one from the public coming to the front of the room, I will go ahead and close our first public comment. Next, we have communications, item 7, and I will entertain a receive and file for these items, and then if people have questions, of course, you can get into that. Commissioner, who might move this? Moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I have questions on multiple.
Yes.
So I don't know how the chair would like that. The protocol is roughly my feathers, but.
Multiple.
All right. So we'll take it from 7A. Wait, got the motion and the.
Yeah, so we'll receive and file all of them. So you've got the motion on all of them, so you can talk about them.
Great, thank you. First is facilities management, support services. In fact, if commissioners who have questions, you'd like to just identify which ones.
I would just start at the top.
Okay.
Wait for it to send me the 900 cars.
So we've got our Oakland County Vehicle Fleet Report. I believe, let me see, Todd Burkle is on the line, just in case there's any questions about that one. Our Business Forward Initiative monthly report is in there as well. Anything on that one?
I
Yes.
just have a general question, and I know we're starting to make the shift to more EVs or hybrids, but looking at the list, I didn't see any on the list. Maybe they're not. They're not on the overnight list?
That's only 5.
I didn't see them, so who can answer? Can anybody answer that?
So Todd is on the line. Todd, were you able to hear that?
Good morning. Presently, none of the EVs are overnight vehicles. They're all staying on campus at night.
Okay, that's good. Can you let me know, I mean, either send me an email, I don't know if anybody else here wants to know, just what type of EVs do we have is what I'm.
Chargers with this.
I know we have some lightnings, but you have like.
Sure, we have, we have 5 Ford Lightnings, 5 Chevrolet Volts, and we have 2 Blazer police pursuit vehicles that are on order that we're expecting to receive within the next month.
Okay, was that V or B? B is in feeble.
EVs.
Chevy Bolt.
Not
Bolt with a B,
As in victory or B as in boy?
B as in boy.
That's not what it would be. Okay.
And we also, I believe, have 1 or 2 Ford Maverick hybrids.
Okay. I was just wondering, 'cause I didn't see it, so I was just curious on what we're purchasing. Thank you. That was it on that one.
Okay. Anything else on the fleet portion?
Just one quick observation. I noticed it's a lot of GM versus Ford and Chrysler. Is that just curious on the history of why that is, or?
Yeah, I can let Todd speak to that. I know that we have a contract that goes out for bid.
Okay.
Yeah, but Todd, if you wanna,
I
You
can
wanna speak to that
your
quickly?
question being a Ford girl.
Sure, Stellantis, Chrysler, the fleet programs kind of went away during COVID, and they also did not offer any EVs. Presently, they've got some plug-in hybrids that are starting to come out, so I anticipate we'll start to see more of those in our fleet, and we'll be doing a bid to get pricing on those particular vehicles.
Yeah, I think it is their contract.
you were just asking about the fleet.
I did.
Not just EV.
Can you see overall any, like, I looked at this overnight report.
Speak up, Commissioner,
Sorry. I was just looking at the overnight report and it's probably 90% GM, which again is fine. I have no qualms with it. I was curious on why it's so heavy GM and so much Ford, Chrysler.
Well, one of the big reasons with the General Motors products is we've been able to become a warranty certified repair facility for General Motors, meaning we can do the repairs in-house and get reimbursed on them rather than tying them up at the dealerships. And the other aspect too is most of those vehicles are either utility body trucks that are in WRC or Sheriff's Patrol vehicles. And the Sheriff Patrol vehicles, we often change the equipment over from one vehicle to the next, so it's not uncommon to have light bars, screens, equipment consoles that have been used in 3 vehicles over the life cycle of that equipment.
Thank you.
all right, thank you, Commissioners. The next one we have for receiving file was the Business Forward Initiative monthly report. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. I see Laura's online.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, because if you look at the numbers they presented, it looks like everything increasing, which is good, but I just noticed a large jump from January, Feb into March 2024. So I'm just wondering if there's, what drove that large increase? Did we hire more people? I mean, so I'm just looking for a deeper explanation.
Great question, and when I got the numbers from the team, I asked the exact same one. The company's serve number that went up is because you may have remembered from months previous, we've switched from an old constituent management system to a new constituent management system, and we had not switched over all of our childcare businesses. And between February and March, we loaded all the childcare businesses that have been served during the time we've worked with them into the system, and that's the reason for the jump.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Good question.
Any questions further on item 7B? Seeing none, let's talk sustainability report, if there's any questions on that one or updates needed. Commissioner Spiz.
I thought you were in the building.
Hello.
Hello. Just first a comment. Great report.
Thank
It's
you.
one of the, and no offense to everybody else that put in their communications report, but it's the most professional report that I've seen and what we've seen in a long time. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My only one comment, and I found the information is, because I know you took the graph from another report, is the GHG emissions,
Sure.
which I think is page, just for everybody else, I think it's page 4 in the report.
Yep.
It has percentages only on there.
Yes.
And I know if you go into the 2018 report itself, you have the actual numbers.
Yes.
So I was just looking for the actual numbers.
Okay, that's
So I don't
fine.
know, in future, I've seen some reports done this where you put the actual number, then the comment, then the percentage,
No problem.
just so somebody could put the numbers together. And that's me just being an engineer looking for numbers.
Sure.
So I can understand what the total number is. I
Yeah.
know we're looking for a reduction,
Mhm.
but I want to understand how big is that pie.
No problem.
So
Thank
that's
you for
just
the
a
comment.
recommendation.
Yep, thank you.
That's good.
Thank you. Commissioner Rahman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was just chatting with Aaron here beforehand as well. Love the report. I'd just like to see kind of how we are progress-wise with all of these goals. I know we have the 2035 and 2050 goals. We've got some really lofty things on here, which is great, but just in terms of where we are in progress meter, I had a sidebar conversation with her, so just something I wanted to mention, you know, yeah, just to kind of see where we're at in the progress.
Okay, wonderful.
Good answer.
And thank you for having that conversation with Aaron, and I'm sure we can glean some of that information from you if it's not too much to include for the next iteration. Okay, thank you.
That's easy enough.
Great.
Not that big.
We are on 7D, local provider January through March 2024 quarterly report. This is regarding transit. We've got Eli there.
There he is.
Yeah, and forgive me, Eli's
Kristen.
Kristen, I was gonna say the wind beneath the wings. Hi, good morning, Kristen. So any questions for the team as it relates to this report? And Brendan, of course, you Miller are welcome to jump in if need be. Yes, Commissioner Spitz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's not a question, it's more of a request. Can we have a sit down outside of this, because I have questions relative to the one topic we talked about prior to this, about helping some of the other smaller groups across the county, you know, and some of the senior centers, et cetera, that have like a single bus. How are we integrating them? And I'd like to have a deeper discussion with you, so if we can set that up outside of this, I'd appreciate that. And then one of our providers in Rochester, I noticed everything they're doing is flat. So I'd like to have a deeper discussion. Brendan, you might want to be part of that.
When you say everything, not all of the charts were flat, some of them went down.
I was being nice. So everybody else was on the upward trend except for one, right? So I think we need to have a deeper discussion on that one. So I don't know if we want to do it in this group or we want to do it privately. I'm sorry, go ahead, Eli.
I mean, Eli, go ahead.
We'd be happy to meet with you at your convenience.
Okay, thank you.
We chatted about them and a few of the other things. OPC is a little bit of an interesting case, one because of the name, which Commissioner Rahman raised, one because they're not doing general public transportation yet, but they aim to, two because the territory is quite a bit smaller than all the other ones, except maybe PEX, they're kind of the same size, but PEX will grow also. So there are a few reasons that OPC is kind of unique, but yeah, I mean.
I agree, but I think it based on the data that's,
they were also
I think we need
a series of weather events, sorry.
Yeah. But I think we need to have a bigger discussion relative to OPC personally.
Fair.
I know it's in both of our districts, so it's something that we should jointly discuss, and I'd like to have that discussion with Eli.
Sure.
All right, we'll set something outside of this, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Markham?
I was told yesterday that the new smart route going into Rochester, all of the bus stop pads are in place.
In Rochester Hills, they are.
In Rochester Hills, and I would like some insight as to how that happened. Who paid for that, or?
The city did.
The city did
In
it.
Troy and Auburn Hills, definitely not, but Rochester Hills does not like to be embarrassed about things. So they were like, if we're going to have buses, we're going to make that comfortable to use.
Good. Is that information available somewhere? I mean, was there a meeting where that was decided, or?
Eli, I know.
Because I would like to kind of encourage my community where the new bus line is, and we're struggling with that conversation, to kind of use Rochester Hills as an example. So if I could have some background information on that, that would be useful.
Eli, I know Sarah said that she had that.
Yeah, so we can follow up with Rochester Hills and find out precisely what motivated them, when did they take the action. I know that SMART itself is under FTA guidelines for providing the concrete pads, but there's an issue of construction timeframe. But let me do a deeper dive, get this information, and I'll get the information back to the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eli.
Anybody else I can do? I call Brian.
I mean, that came.
Also that.
Yeah.
That came up at our transit ad hoc committee on Monday and surprised everybody. Just Rochester Hills said we're getting it done and went and did it. They weren't gonna wait for SMART. So.
Are your meetings streamed?
No,
Okay, just a question for the.
they could be. Could they be? Should they be?
Yeah, no, it's
I think it's up to the chair.
Oh, no, the cities are, but
Cities are,
our
definitely.
transit committee.
Okay, just food for thought. Because you're so popular and everybody wants to know more about everything going on. Okay,
Sharon.
thank you, Eli. I think you're sticking around, so perhaps, who knows? But if not, it's good seeing both of you. The next under our communications is the letter regarding 52-1. We got that some time ago. Most of you probably been able to review that. Imagining there's no questions or comments at this time on that one. And then, of course, there's item F, which just popped up today after LRIP, which were the applications for 24 local road improvement program. Questions on that one?
I would like to make a comment on E.
Oh,
I know we
sure.
received it in the past. I didn't make a public comment at the time, so it's now, but now it's public in
Absolutely.
communications.
Let's
I personally,
do that.
I'm not gonna say I took offense to the letter. Yeah, but it was, but the way it came across, I don't think was professional in a manner that they were looking to try to get some negotiations done. So that's my personal opinion. In some sidebar conversations with a few other members here, I think they had similar comments, but I don't want to speak for them.
Sure.
To-
Commissioner Rahman?
Yeah, thank you. And just to piggyback off Commissioner Spiz, same sentiment. And I don't know, is that individual or representative here as well? Or do you know if they're gonna be joining us in this conversation or?
Paul, do you think?
They are not, landlords are not gonna be joining in the conversation. I do believe they are online listening, but
Okay.
I'm not sure that they're signed in a manner that will allow them to interact.
Okay, perfect.
Correct, they are not.
Awesome. Anything else on E? Alrighty. And then F, as I mentioned, is fairly new as of this morning. If you have any thoughts on that, Commissioner
Well,
Whiteburn?
just that we met this morning and went through all the applications and made the awards, so
Yeah.
that was a meeting this morning.
All right, all hearts and minds are clear. We can voice vote this item 7 on our agenda. All in favor of receiving and filing the communications by a sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same? Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you everyone online and present to be able to chime in on these. Next, we're at the consent agenda. We've got 6 items under consent. 8A is fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the Charter Township of White Lake for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program, project number 57762. Item B is fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the Charter Township of Oakland for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 57802. Item C is fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the City of Rochester Hills for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 57802. That is not a typo. Item D, fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the City of Lathrop Village for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 56921. Item E is fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the Charter Township of Oxford for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 57812. And then item 8F is fiscal year 2024 appropriation with the Township of Holly for Tri-Party Road Improvement Program project number 57822. I'll take a motion to approve these under consent.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson moves, Commissioner Miller supports. Any commentary on these? Pretty standard form. We'll go ahead and do our prompt. We're prompting this one.
Aye. Yes.
Long,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
you have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent, that motion carries. Takes us to item 9, the regular agenda, and we're gonna start with 9A. I'll take a motion to, let me just open this really quickly. I believe it's a forward to finance?
Recommended.
Recommend to the board, thank you. I'll take a motion to recommend to the board, item 9 A, the lease with Novi Investment Partners LLC at 48150 Grand River Avenue, Novi, Michigan for the 52-1 District Court. Moved by Commissioner Rahman, supported by Commissioner Markham. All right, here we are. Paul.
Good morning, Commissioners. We are back.
Welcome.
So, this lease is, well, I'll start over, but I think everyone pretty much knows where we're at on it. Existing lease, excuse my voice, I had a cold last week, so. The current lease started in 2016, ends in 2026. Next year, we have to provide a letter to option that lease. But what we've decided to do, instead of option, is to come up with a new lease. So we have a new lease that would start this year, June 24, and go 10 years, and then there would be 2 5-year options after that. So this location is a long-term location and is going to be a long-term location. So we want to take care of that lease so that there's no question as to anything as far as the property goes. So the existing lease schedule will continue. It's at a 2% annual increase. And for those thinking about inflation, that's really good. So locking in a 2% increase per year is a definite benefit. Also, the rent rate that we're at is pretty decent. It's about $15 to $16 a square foot. So for a specialty building like that, that's built out like that, in that location in Novi, that's a good, I would call that a good price rent-wise. So we're just looking to add this lease, get this lease approved, move forward with the 10 years.
Yeah, thank you.
And have the 2-year options, 2 5-year options involved. We were asked to see if we could improve. Part of the lease is a tenant improvement allowance. When we negotiated this, the landlord had, we had presented a number and we negotiated that to $150,000. We were asked to go back and see if we could get more. We tried to get more. His counter offer was $200,000, but then increasing the rent by, instead of 2%, 3%. So that analysis doesn't make sense at all. So we fall back to the $150,000 in tenant improvement line. So when we sign this lease, the landlord will fund that amount for 5 years, and then the core administration out at Novi will be able to spend that on interior improvements. So that's another good item on this. Pretty much our standard lease, we also have, and Ed may want to talk about this, but if the state or the city of Novi wants to take over the court, we have a term in there that allows that to happen. So that's part of our guarantee that if something happens out of our hands, the lease will be either assumed or we can terminate it based on that complex situation. So I think that's it. I'm interested in, to me, this lease is good. We should move forward and takes care of business going forward.
I'll just add two quick, I'm sorry, I'll just add quickly too. So Paul had mentioned the options, right, that are in the current contract. And we could exercise those options, but again, the advantage of entering into this new lease is we get this allowance that we would not get if we exercise the options, right? And, as Paul mentioned, the court on the current building is suited for our needs down there. We don't see ourselves going anywhere anytime soon. So this lease would help us secure that. And again, important note, Paul just mentioned it, but again, if the state were to step in and say, you know, this court is no longer gonna be under, you know, your control, your jurisdiction, your operation, there is a clause in the lease that in that instance, we then can terminate.
Thank you, Ed. I have a couple commissioners in the queue, Commissioner Spiz and Commissioner Markham.
Did you guys put your name on them?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming back in front of us. I know the last meeting didn't go, I think, very well, right? Not for anything you guys did, but there was a lot of discussion by this group, and I think it was the first time I've ever seen this group vote unanimously on something like that, but that's okay. So I appreciate you coming back. Taking into account the letter from Mr. Lewis, the letter from Deputy Lynch, you know, I'm still a no on this, you know. I would like to see the county and the administration put some effort into other properties that they're putting into Pontiac. That's my opinion. I mean, because there's other avenues that this county can take to relative to facilities, buildings, that can save us money. So, and to me, I don't think we put the figure into this one. We're just kind of kicking the can down the road and signing the lease. That's just my opinion, so that's why I'm a no. So I just wanted to be upfront with everybody on my position. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiz. Commissioner Markham.
Yeah. Excuse me, I have a couple of questions. We have adequate parking out there?
Yes.
I thought so, just checking to be sure. I've only ever seen it really full, the parking lot, a few times, and it's usually for if they're doing a sobriety court graduation or something like that where everybody's bringing their families.
Especially then.
Homeland Security / safety, I know there was an issue in a budget hearing a year or two ago where they were concerned somewhat about if we needed to have more security there, or has that been talked about or decided that we're adequate there? It does have the berm around it and the big gates and all that stuff, so.
Well, that's another good point, is that we've invested in that property already for security, so employee security and judges' security is gated and carded, and it's around the back of the building. That is something the county invested in that property for those reasons. So to not continue would be a loss of all that security investment too. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. It is on the Grand River bus line. It's right there, so if somebody needs a bus to get to court, they now can do that, and I'm very happy about that. And I do think it's a well-placed building. It's easy to get to, it's on Grand River, it's between two major highway exits, and I would like to see us continue to support the building. I agree with Mr. Spiz, when we get an opportunity to upgrade, I think we should, whenever we can. But I do support this because I want to see it go forward. I thought the letter from the landlord was kind of unfriendly. I'll use that word. I don't think there's anything we can do about that, you know, so. Anyhow, that's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Write you a letter.
Commissioner Weisberg.
And when this came to us, because the landlord needed, for his lender and whatever, they came to us for this, right, the renegotiations. I was hoping you could do, that's why we sent you back to see if you could do a little bit better. And I was hoping you would do better, but
Yeah,
you may understand that a lot of the things in the lease are our responsibility anyway.
Yeah, it's a triple net lease.
Right.
And the landlord did come to us asking if we would consider entering into a new lease that would, you know, extend that longer. And that's when we recognized that, okay, there's maybe some value in it for the landlord, but we still have some options that we can exercise, right, and stay under there, but hey, there's value in it for them, then there's, you know, maybe some value in it for us, and that's when we came back with the evaluation that, hey, you know, if we agree to do this, which again, we don't have plans on going anywhere, we said, hey, let's you know, let's try to get something for the county out of this, and that's when we, you know, said, hey, we would consider doing this if you would be willing to give us this allowance that we can use to make some improvements inside the building that according to the lease, we're responsible for.
The options that we're entering into on the new lease have value. That has a lot of value for long term. It's a long-term property. So we're just trying to set it up so that we have business taken care of. Things go pretty quick, you know, in leases, and if we don't negotiate now, if we don't take care of this now, then, you know, where's the other opportunity?
Yeah, this is something that the landlord came to us with over a year ago. And so we've been going back and forth and negotiating with them for quite some time.
And I didn't like that letter that came out of the blue either, and I thought, you know, this person not agreed. Yeah, it was probably the negotiations were harder from the tone of that letter.
They were a little bit more difficult than usual. I would say that these landlords have been fairly good to work with. I think, you know, that they watched the previous meeting and just felt that some of the information that was portrayed in that meeting was inaccurate, and that frustrated them because it made them look as if they were, you know, slumlords in this, and they felt slighted by that. So I think, I can't speak for them, but based on our negotiations with them, that's the sense that I got. And that's why they wanted to clear the air with the letter that they sent.
And we'll say you did tell us that you were able to work with this landlord in the past on different issues. And there's been other landlords that were not as good as this landlord.
This landlord is very well funded. They handle, you know, their part of the maintenance on the exterior, and you know, scheduled things and done improvements without too much hassle at all.
Commissioner Johnson? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed Commissioner Martin.
Thank you.
Yes. Sir, Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have many thoughts. I'll use the word abrasive to describe the letter. Abrasive, unnecessary, a little bit cowardly. Frankly, if you want to clear the air, you have two options to participate in public comment at this meeting. This is a public meeting. It's open to the public. You can come and talk to us. That's okay. If you're on the agenda, you can speak before and after. You don't clear the air by throwing a bomb into the air and watching it explode. In my experience, that creates more dust, more dirt, and it's harder to see through that sky. So that's my comment about the letter. Two, on the court, I do not like the court. I did not like it then. I don't like it now. I'm sorry. I think we have far too many courts. Could you, and it's fine if you don't have this data in front of you, but if you could tell me by caseload, what percentage of the cases that are handled at the 52-1 court are residents of Novi?
Alex is behind us, and she'd be the one to answer.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Would you like me to comment here, or would you like me to comment?
Whatever that you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're busy.
Okay, so since we're talking about the letter, I you know, obviously I saw the letter as well. I have to say, like, I want to echo what they said. This landlord has been, I have to say it, and I did say it in the last meeting, he's been a good landlord to us. He really has. I've been there for 29 years, so I've been through all the landlords, and I would take him over everyone we've had previously. That being said, I obviously did not like the letter either. I think there was a misconception that Commissioner Spiz was saying that he got $10 million, which is not at all what I understood from what he was saying. You're saying overall $10 million in rent has been spent on this.
since we had the building. So just to clear that up, that is not at all what I thought you said. And I think he misunderstood maybe, I'm not sure, but either way, I agree that sending the letter isn't really gonna necessarily help matters since things were pretty dusty to begin with. With that said, I understand what you're saying about the courts, you feel that there's too many of them. You know, there's a long history, I think we kind of briefly talked about it last time I was here, of how we ended up with all these courts, and it doesn't personally offend me, I can get a job somewhere else if I have to, but I really like working for the county. When you ask the question about the residents of Novi, the problem is, to give you a percentage of how many of those people come to our court, I can't tell you how many are residents, because what we serve isn't just Novi. So we have those 11 municipalities that feed into us. If we were to look at a percentage overall for how many of the people within our district do we actually serve, I mean, at least 90% are from the districts themselves. The reason they picked that location was because originally it was more center to all of the different jurisdictions that feed in, because you got Lyon Township, which is in the other direction as well. The location itself, and I know you mentioned last time I was here about, you know, you'd prefer to see it in a downtown area or whatever. And I really thought about, you know, your questions and your comments about that. And so I took a look at, like, what would that mean if we were somehow in a downtown area, what would we be achieving? And the problem is we'd have all of these other citizens that we'd be inconveniencing, such as Commerce, Wixom, Wolverine Lake. So I make that drive because I drive from Clarkston to Novi every day. And I drive through a fair amount of our jurisdiction on the way to our court, which is sort of on the end of our jurisdiction. So it's really most convenient for the citizens of Novi than it is any other of our jurisdictions. I've been watching the bus stop since you brought that up as well. And I was just mentioning to Commissioner Charles that I've seen more people using the bus than we did originally when the bus stops first, when we see the bus stop, nobody'd get in or out. But we're seeing more people. I've been trying to kind of gauge how many people are court users that are coming via bus. Not too many, but at least it's providing something. I personally had gone to pick somebody up at the bus stop off of 11 Mile Road on one occasion because they called and they just couldn't get to court, and I felt so bad, so I drove myself. So it's really nice to have those bus stops there. So location-wise, I want to stress that I really think it is serving Novi more than it's really serving any other of the jurisdictions well, as far as location goes. If you moved it to a city, which is, I know, not our discussion here, but I just want to address your concerns, then you'd really be putting people out of the way that are coming from other locations. So we do have, because of that 96 and M5 connector, we do have a lot of people from the Wayne County area who are just kind of passing through that get caught in a speed trap or whatever, and they've got to make that drive. If you're making somebody go to a city, a downtown location, you're inconveniencing them even more. So the good thing is we're right off of Beck and right off of Wixom Road, although right now it's not a happy place because of construction, but it works for us. So making that drive, like I said, from Clarkston, I can tell you there's no easy way from Clarkston, but if I was coming from Wolverine, Wall Lake, Commerce, and I had to do anything, I'd rather do that than go all the way to the center city, downtown area, because you've got that M5. When we didn't have an M5 connector, it was terrible. Now that we have M5, it really helps Commerce in those remote areas. Did I answer your question?
You did in spades, and I really appreciate it. I guess my tangential questions, and I'll vote yes on this, but this is a bigger conversation because I think my philosophical struggle remains.
Yeah.
And this is like the shift from in-person to Zoom, and whether or not being close to something physically actually matters so much in the future or right now. I do think that our court system is in need of a serious sit-down chat and possible reconfiguration. I know that a lot of our, Don't be gone forever. This is a huge agenda. But I know that a lot of the cities in the southeast part of our county took over their own court systems because it was more profitable back then, and I think a lot of the balance sheets have kind of flipped in not in their favor over the last few years too. So I guess my point is I just think that this is a probably bigger conversation than just one lease renewal. And I would really love to see that conversation happen.
I would love to talk to you anytime. Like, I would love to just really deep dive into that for you.
Thank you.
So-
I would love that, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you're welcome.
So just one comment is like you talked about people speeding in construction zones. I would say maybe that would deter people from speeding through Novi. Just saying.
Right, you would think. Well, you don't really have any choice but to crawl.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
we're
terrible.
literally
Yeah.
having to drive over
Yeah.
the berm just to, probably shouldn't even say that out loud, but I told the city of Novi, we're driving over our berm just to get to the parking lot next door to reach a traffic light so that, because we already had one, and we told them, I called road commission, not to call anybody out in the meeting, cause my mouth is not control, but we did have an employee get in an accident right after they started the construction, and I called and I said, look, you can't close everything all at the same time. My patrons, the people that come there are really struggling, so we're really lenient about what time people get there. We're not like, oh, you didn't get here at 9 for your docket or whatever. And we do utilize Zoom to the extent that we can, but when there's witnesses and those types of things. And as far as the parking lot goes, no, it hasn't been completely full since before COVID. But since the caseloads are going up, like Monday and Tuesday, if you drive by on Monday, Tuesday morning, it is hard to get a spot, but we have plenty of parking. I mean, there were times since I've worked there, that people parked at the Outback, walked over the berm to come to court. We don't have to do that anymore.
Well, I apologize to Commissioner Rahman, who's been so patient. He was in the queue all this time.
That's true. He's a quick finger.
Actually, I'm glad I'm on last because I appreciate hearing all the commentary. I echo Commissioner Johnson's sentiment on the letter. I'll be honest with you, I think he was much more eloquent in his thoughts than I would have been, I think, in terms of the letter. I feel like it was done wrong, it rubbed me the wrong way. And again, at the end of the day, I know we're not the ones doing the negotiating, we sort of sit here and we're the stamp of approval, if you will. One thing I wanna go back to is Commissioner Spiz's point, and I'm just looking at the numbers here. So over 10 years, if I'm seeing this correctly, with the 2% adjustment or the 3% adjustment, we're talking 4.6 to 4.8 million, is that correct? In terms of our total rent paid?
To that particular landlord, you're saying?
Correct.
Well, that's probably about, that's probably
It's
about
actually
right.
on here, it's not even me doing the math, I mean, it's in our packet.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that, so even if we opt for the original proposal that they gave us without any changes, we're 4.6 million in the first 10 years. We're fairly certain, Alex, in the conversations I've had with you, that we're probably not moving, we're not going anywhere.
We're not.
Just short of a sale or the state taking over or something
The
catastrophic
state's
happening.
not gonna take over,
We're not going anywhere. So I guess this comes back to our original point, right, with negotiating with these folks. And I know here it says the purchase price given was 7.5 million. I don't know, I don't know what discussions were had, how fixed they are at that price. And I'm also reading here, that the purchase price given, the rate of return, in this space is 20 years. Then to include the price of maintenance of roofs, HVAC, parking lot, adds more years to the rate of return. I get all of that. But I don't know that I disagree with Commissioner Spiz that if we're for sure spending 4.6 to 4.8 just in the first 10 years, it's not a stretch to think that if we can aggressively negotiate this, it's going to be with us for some time. I guess the question is that a valid consideration? Is that something we really need to look at to purchase this outright?
And it is something that we have considered and discussed and ran the numbers on. And as a result of the meetings that we've had, this we felt is the option we need right now.
Again, and the math for me it doesn't seem like a far stretch to purchase it outright. If we're not going anywhere. That's just 10 years, we're paying over half of it. I mean, if we go longer than that, 20 years, 30 years, I don't know.
I don't wanna be there that long. But that's just me.
Brent's got another.
I know.
He's gonna vacate.
So that's my thought.
Well, certainly the conversation has been robust, and I think now's a good time to call for the vote. Just let it be done, see where it lands. So Paul can keep a few hairs left, right? On top of his head.
Yay.
Wow.
What's that now?
Is it a problem?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys ready for the vote? Yes. Okay, let's prompt the vote.
Oh, mine came up. This didn't come up, Mike.
Miller?
Yes.
See, that's
Biz?
No.
yours didn't come up, mine did.
Smith Jones.
Yes.
You have 6 yeas, 2 nays.
Thank you. That motion does carry.
Okay.
It passes, so the ball is now back into the court of, hey, the ball's back in the court. Thank you, Paul and Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much as well.
No problem.
Yep.
Commissioners, you all are shining stars. All right, let's move on to 9B. I'll take wait, let me get there. Motion to recommend and forward to finance, pledging the full faith and credit of Oakland County for Phase 2 of the Clinton River Water Resource Recovery Facility Drain Optimization Project. Moved by Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Weipert. And welcome, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind just reminding us for the record your names and your titles, and then you have the floor.
Sure, I guess I'll start. I'm Gary Nagro. I'm a manager at the Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Office.
Eric McLaughlin, partner at Dickinson Wright, member of the Public Finance Group there.
Stephen Burke from MFCI, and we are the financial advisor to WRC.
Great. Gentlemen, you can lead us off here on this full faith and credit of Oakland County for Phase 2.
Okay, I think I'll start just by sort of describing the project a little bit, and then as far as the financial portions of it, these two gentlemen will be able to take it from there. So, as many of you I'm sure are aware, the Water Resource Commissioner's Office took over the former Pontiac wastewater treatment plant several years ago, and had been over the course of the last 7-8 years have been upgrading the plant with a lot of its needs. It was in sort of disrepair. And the most recent project was to upgrade the electrical systems, which was started, this was the original optimization project that started about a year ago. It was a very aggressive schedule that included electrical upgrades, including a cogeneration process, modifying the secondary clarifiers to allow wet weather treatment flow to be able to pass through the facility adequately to meet the standards of the state of Michigan. Last year, as we were progressing forward, it was a design build contract, very aggressive schedule, and it got to the point where the secondary clarifier portion of the project was becoming more complicated than anticipated, and the cost of replacing or rebuilding the secondary clarifiers was going to be a lot more than we anticipated. So that's the point where we split the project into optimization Phase 1 and Phase 2. So Phase 1 is continuing. There's a contract in place right now. That's the electrical upgrade portion. And this is Phase 2 portion of it, which what we did is we knew the Phase 1 project was viable and said move forward, but we took a step back to look at other options for the secondary clarifiers. So rather than rebuild the existing ones, putting in conventional clarifiers that were larger, we worked with some consultants, Jacobs Consulting, to find that there were other alternatives available, such as the one that we're moving forward with, which is the mobile organic biofilm, which essentially allows you to pass greater flow through the secondary clarifiers without rebuilding the clarifiers themselves and make them larger and deeper. And as part of that also, we'll be upgrading the aeration basins, increasing the blowers, to provide enough air for the biological process. So that's a huge simplification of the project, but we're feeling very comfortable with that at this point, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Weipert?
Is that time tested, that new system? I mean, this isn't, you're not trying something new that's gonna someday, well, why'd we do that? Is it?
Yeah,
and this biofilm, is that time tested elsewhere?
It's been around for about 10 years. We did consult with and Just did some Teams meetings, with some of other wastewater plants around the United States who are successfully utilizing this process. And we've been working directly with the manufacturer of this process. It's kind of interesting. It actually uses a natural product from a hibiscus plant, adds this media into the flow, and as it passes through, it helps settle the biosolids from the wastewater much quicker and more efficiently than it would without that. So it's actually a natural product. It's so simple. It's interesting. So.
I like that. That's good. Alrighty, anything else for this particular item? Seeing no hands raised, let's go ahead and prompt the vote on item 9B.
Do we want to look at the financials? I mean, how's the bond market and how's you mind or no?
No, go ahead.
I mean, how's the bonding looking? We're gonna do these in a series. I mean, that's a big purchase, right? You do it as needed.
For sure. So this is actually getting completed through the CWSRF program within the state. So the interest rate on this is set. It's 2.5%. And it would be, so that's a subsidized rate based on the state's program. This project was accepted in the previous year and then split out to this year. And it's repaid by 13 of the communities of the drainage district. So everyone from Auburn Hills to Township of West Bloomfield repay this in various amounts.
That is a good rate. I mean, I know it's subsidized.
You said 13, how many are there total?
There's 13 communities that are part of the drainage
Okay,
district.
so 13 of 13.
Spiz,
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Long,
Yes.
Viper,
As soon as you go and investigate another page, you lose your voting rights.
you have 8 yeas here.
Thank you.
Easy, you didn't have to.
9B.
Thank you. But are you up here for the
Thank
next
you
one?
guys, and
We'll let you speak on the next
keep
one.
up the good work.
Look at something and then
Yeah.
you might go.
That was a finance related
If
question.
you go away and come back, then you have to refresh.
Yeah, the next item.
All right,
whatever
item
the next
Read that out.
9C, authorizing the issuance of bonds bonds to finance improvements to the city of Pontiac sewage disposal system. This is a recommended forward to finance. Can I get a motion? Spiz and supported by Commissioner Johnson. And hello?
Hi, I'm Ben Lewis. I'm Assistant Chief Engineer at the Drain Office, the Water Commissioner's Office. And we were here April 11th requesting a notice of intent to issue bonds, and we've returned for that issuance. The project is a maintenance, basically, project, 46,000 feet of lining, sewer lining, 2,700 feet of manhole lining, which would include bypass sewer pumping, and this will all be trenchless. So there'll be some disruption where we have to set up over manholes and do that stuff, but as far as the streets and the other stuff, it's rather seamless, should be.
Famous last word.
Right.
But this is needed, like we've always said when we come to Pontiac, we've got an aging system. We're trying to catch up with our maintenance and repairs, and this project will help do that. It's in the southwest quadrant of the city. Any questions that anyone might have on this?
Thank you, Southwest Quadrant. I don't see any hands at this time for this particular item.
Your financial sides?
Big pardon?
The financial sides? There are two other gentlemen at the head.
How will this one be different?
Go for it.
So the resolution that you just voted on for that's gonna be an issue of drain bonds, and it's gonna be issued by the Drainage Board for that drainage district. This one is gonna be an issue of bonds to be issued by the county. It's gonna carry the county's full faith and credit, limited tax pledge, and will be secured by general fund revenues within existing taxing limitations. This resolution authorizes an issue of county bonds up to $5 million to pay for this project. And it delegates authority to the county agency and other proper officials and employees of the county to execute the needed documents, take the needed actions in order to effectuate the issuance, sale, and delivery of the bonds through the state's CWSRF program at a low interest rate. The next steps after this is the second and final step that this committee and the Board of Commissioners are asked to take in this particular process. After this is done, then the documentation and the necessary steps within that CWSRF program will be undertaken in the next month and a half, 2 months or so. And the state will issue its order of approval on or about August 7th, with closing at the end of August. Okay. Any questions on the legal side?
And this will be one issue, right? This
single issue for this one.
And I would just add that this is a $7,250,000 project that is receiving a grant from the state of approximately $2.3 million, and then additional principal forgiveness on the bonds of another $1.3 million. So the total amount that will actually be repaid is $3,625,000. But we have to borrow the money, hence the $5 million, and then they forgive it.
Borrow to pay it back. This all's got the same rate?
This one is at 2%.
Thank you.
Anything further? Alrighty, this is item 9C. Let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
See if I get it now. Cause I didn't investigate it.
I still like it.
Right?
Yes.
When you go up another page.
Miller,
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 yeas, 0 nays.
I know this is the water.
That motion carries. Thank you. On 9C, takes us to 9D, which is a recommendation and forward to finance of authorizing the issuance of bonds to finance improvements of to the city of Pontiac water supply system.
I'm still Ben Lewis, still the assistant.
Before you start, Ben, it keeps flashing. Moved by Johnson, supported by Whitebird. Ben, now the floor is yours.
Yeah,
As with the other last project, we were here on April 11th to seek notice of intent for bonding for this project. This is a water project, replacing water mains and water services in the southeast portion of Pontiac. Again, aging system, we've got some undersized mains, old cast iron that will be replaced. We have lead service lines that we'll be replacing. And it's pretty much the extent of the project. If you have any questions about the construction, I'd be glad to take them. Legal and financial.
Sure. So under the infrastructure side of the conversation, before we were talking about sewer and things like that, but now we're talking about water supply. Obviously, we're all very sensitive to that here in Michigan. So we have assurances, water's running in the right direction. We're not like bringing bad stuff to good people. Just the checks and balances along with that.
We get good water. We get it from Great Lakes Water Authority. My understanding is some of the best water that you can have.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
We had some.
The issue of concern is the age and condition of the mains, which we'll take care of, and also the lead service lines. And we're in the process of evaluating the rest of the city to find all the lead service lines to make sure that they're replaced in accordance with the state laws.
Okay, very good. Contingency? Do we build in contingencies for things like this, like if they're old and, they break, certain systems like that? Is that a
Well, we have our operation maintenance system, which we've probably now for a little over 10 years have been operating and maintaining Pontiac.
Sheriff's Office.
So, yeah, we're all set. We have, we do part of the work with our own forces. If we need outside contractors, we have on-call staff for 24/7 service.
Okay.
We think we're pretty responsive in that.
All right. Legal Eagle stuff?
So this resolution is very similar. It makes the same pledge as you discussed in the last resolution. The county is limited tax, full faith and credit to repay these bonds. It's expected that the primary load of the debt service will be paid from the rates and charges of the system, just like the last one as well. This authorizes up to $13,210,000 to pay a portion of the project. This project is much larger, but has a much larger grant component that Steve can talk about. The difference with this resolution is that it's a little more complicated because this project involves both the water service line replacement component and the water main replacement component. And to finance both of those aspects, we're gonna do one series of bonds that'll be issued through the DWRF, the state program at a low interest rate, and one series of bonds that'll be issued on the public market with an official statement, the typical disclosure activities that would come with public sale of bonds. So that's what this resolution entails. Again, it authorizes the county agency to take the necessary actions to effectuate the sale, issuance, and delivery of the bonds, both in the open market for that portion of the project and the DWRF portion of the project through the state. Are there any questions on the legal side of it?
Thanks. We're taking a crash course in all of this right now. Let's then discuss the money side of it per Whitebird.
For sure, so this is on the water side, and the interest rate on this from the DWSRF is actually 1%. And the system received approximately $20 million in ARPA grants and principal forgiveness along with the lead service line replacement. So the public market component is based on the estimate right now of the project, which is higher than what funding we have from the DWSRF bonds plus ARPA grant. The hope is that if bids come in at a level that's not needed, but if it is, then the system will go out to the public market and borrow the money to make up for the full project. But from the standpoint of the DWSRF, the system will be repaying approximately about $4.5 million of the $25.5 million that would be allocated.
All right, good information, thank you. Seeing no other hands raised for this item, we can go ahead and prompt the vote, 9D.
Before we all, oh, you got it?
No,
We have a
Markham.
glitch.
Absent. That's why it's hers. Spiz?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Whiteper?
Gotta refresh again. After he votes.
Miller?
Yes.
With Charles?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
You have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. Item 9D passes. And
Cool.
we thank you all
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Next is item 9E.
Oh, here it is.
I just
We
came out.
vote, we're gonna vote again.
Go ahead and.
Double votes today now.
This is voter for 3
I didn't know.
for us. Vote early, vote often.
You're voting twice?
Yeah.
In the same election?
And you're not dead. Okay.
When it's okay.
9E is economic development, aviation and transportation, antenna and equipment space lease with the Federal Aviation Administration for a T-hangar located at the Oakland County International Airport. A motion to recommend to the board. Moved by Long, supported by Rahman. Welcome, Cheryl. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Cheryl Bush, Manager of Aviation. This is pretty straightforward. This is for a T-hangar lease. It's different because it's a multi-year contract with the FAA, as atypical. Most of our T-hangar leases are month to month on an individual basis. So this, we are currently in this lease with the FAA. It's scheduled to expire the end of September. They've offered an incremental increase to carry us for the next 5 years. And so we're happy to continue that relationship with the FAA. And there is a 30-day notice of termination if either party needs to get out.
Okay. Any questions on this? All right, let us then prompt the vote.
See if we get it. Yay. It's easy. It's easy. Did you refresh when he was doing the vote? I told you to wait.
Spiz?
Yes.
Miller?
Now
Yes.
wait a few
You
minutes.
have 8 yeas and 0.
Now refresh.
Excellent. That motion carries. Takes us to 9F, Economic Development, Aviation, Transportation, authorizing the Board of Commissioners, Board Chair, to execute airport-sponsored contracts with the State of Michigan, Department of Transportation, Office of Aeronautics. Is there a motion to recommend to the board? Moved by Whiteper, supported by, I'll support it, just for the good and order. Cheryl, tell us a little bit about
what this means. This is a little bit of a unique request out of the Office of Aeronautics. Typically, in any of our grant contracts, there is a line item that authorizes the board chair to sign the document. And for ease of their administration, they've requested that we adopt a resolution that is a blanket resolution, just allows our board chair, whoever may be at that time, to sign on those contractual agreements. We have a requirement to report to them who the current chair is and if there's any changes.
Yeah. She means Dave Butler.
Yes.
Board of Commissioner Chair.
Yes, Board of Commissioner chair.
Just making sure.
And again, this is something that MDOT, or I should say the state of Michigan, is more so just so that things can be quicker. Is there
That's how they portrayed it. There is an item in the packet that is an email that was included that requested this change.
Got it.
Stuff up.
Yep, I see it.
Is it because you don't have to?
Alrighty. Just checking to see if I had any questions. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So is this for any of the, I don't know if it's for grants, but any of the work that's performed as well?
No, well, we would bring each of those items, any of the individual grants to this entity in order for approval. This just eliminates the need to have that single line item on our resolution authorizing the board chair to execute. So, all of the same approvals are.
Just wanna make sure it's not just a pass-through.
No.
Rubber stamping things, you know.
It's just eliminating one line item.
I appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Just like.
Oh, no, I mean like some other county.
Yeah.
Mr. Spitz.
Yeah, this is more of a question for the group here. I just, first of all, I don't know why we would give up our authority in this instance or any instance as a committee. So, and to me, by doing this, you're giving up your authority to the board chair. Yeah, we all sit on the board chair, but then we don't get a voice anymore because it's just gonna go to the board chair, whoever that may be. So I'm gonna vote no on this.
Well, I think it always went to the board chair, they just wanna limit
This
it
is
to
Lansing.
resolution.
The trouble counties
Right,
that don't
isn't
get
it?
around and sign them, right?
Well, yeah, that is what,
Right.
yes.
Could you say that again, Commissioner
Isn't
Whiteford?
this more housekeeping that Lansing has problems with some counties that are not efficient, right? And they don't, something's not getting signed or there's not a person.
Or it's not a person that has been authorized to sign. So it's not giving the chair the authority to approve the grant itself.
Without-
That authority has to come through this board and up through the chain. This is just to authorize when it is, once it is approved, that the approved signer is the board chair.
Yeah, I think it's just.
I feel like this is enough for this,
Right,
like Ottawa being difficult.
yeah. Yeah, like an Ottawa.
I feel like this is Ottawa
So,
being difficult.
Yeah.
this problem.
So Sheriff,
Right, that's what I think too.
I guess it was a little confusion on some of the understanding of it. It's a little, what you've said is very illuminating.
It's unfortunate.
Is there a reporting mechanism where we would get indications of stuff that's happened, maybe quarterly, is that?
Each one of those contracts.
Oh, great timing.
Yeah.
What am I signing?
You're signing, get your.
Join
get your
us.
pen out.
So.
Please, absolutely.
So my understanding is like all of this, will go through our airport committee as usual.
Right.
And at the authorization, this is just, it's more of a, there's a signature on there. And in conformity with state requirements and other FAA requirements, other things, the authorization. So I heard the comment of like oversight, well, the oversight really ultimately is our airport committee.
Yeah, I was.
For everything.
Okay.
And so it allows the execute of these agreements that have gone through that process.
Alright, I hear what everybody's saying, it just, the way it's written, it doesn't
do with other.
come across to me that way.
Yeah, well, perhaps we haven't presented it appropriately, but what occurs now is you typically a miscellaneous resolution that outlines whatever that grant may be, all the details. One of the second to the last line items is, and this committee authorizes the board chair to execute on this. And so that single line item will no longer be required.
It's just automatically going.
Everything else stays the same. All the authority continues with the same process.
I don't get
It's just the fact that we don't necessarily have to say who the authority is to sign.
I guess generally,
Right.
just don't
I think
get
it's
it.
just some
Maybe
kind
I'll
of housekeeping
If we already do it that way, maybe I'm just.
Commissioner Miller, and then
I think it's a very
Rahman.
simple administrative.
Commissioner Miller and then Rahman.
So the question I have is this coming from the airport authority or is this coming from MDOT? Their request?
This is a request from MDOT. There is in your packet an email from Alex Thalen.
I see that, yeah. I just-
Yeah, that's where it came from.
We typically don't like other organizations, telling us how to do our process. Right? Like nobody comes to your house and walks through your house if you don't allow shoes in your house, right?
Tell that to the HVAC guy.
They put booties on.
Worker.
He's doing you a favor, right? This is us trying to do, they want us to do them a favor.
Yeah, well, and I have not spoken to MDOT, but what I'm guessing is that they're trying to standardize this across all their stuff.
That's what I'm
We get
thinking. It's
transfer
not
funds,
us.
so like it's not, there are 83 counties, we got airports
Yeah.
in now, maybe
That's what
all
I
of them,
think
but most
too.
of them.
It's not us.
And so they're just trying to have like, this is a uniform policy, and so our stuff be aligned with their
That's what I
stuff. I certainly do want their money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I think that's the
That would
conformity,
be-
but in terms of, like, from an oversight perspective, the airport board continue to do our stuff. This
They'll come
committee
through this
continue to do,
committee.
because the airport, under the board of commissioners comes through this committee, and that line's not required. It's just implied that, upon approval of those things, we execute. And frankly, some of that, like, sometimes we have that sentence in other contracts in the county, but it doesn't change the deliberation, the oversight, or the execution of these contracts.
Miller.
So to continue with my question is has there been any issues with our process as we have it now? Right, it sounds like it's other counties, and then is there potential, is this like time sensitive, or is there potential to get somebody from MDOT to answer some of these questions and have their ask instead of coming through? Woman that we love here, right? Getting beat up over a question.
I'd be more than happy to invite someone to attend and answer your questions if you'd like to do that.
To expedite, to be able to check off the list, if we could advance this, if there are questions that we want, or we could invite a representative to our next board meeting to join remotely, to answer these. But it requires, what are the questions that we want? If we want,
List out your
can we get our questions and can they write it out and we can send it around? Is that satisfactory, or is there more dialogue that's required?
Well, I think that would be fair, and regardless of the outcome, this can still go on the regular agenda for full board. Well, not regardless, but if it were to pass, and would that satisfy just keeping everything moving, and then ultimately, full board would have the final say. So I'm fine with that. I don't see any objections. I did want to check, are you voting, participating what is it again?
Ex officio.
Only if I'm needed. I gotta jump into the call, so probably not.
Okay. All right, well, folks, thank you for the deliberation. Let's go ahead and prompt the vote on this one.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I did.
You have 7 yeas, 1 nay.
7 yeas, 1 nay. Who's the 1 nay?
You guys figure that out.
Commissioner Smith. He's important enough. Cheryl, can you help us through Amy, Aaron, and the whole team? Just fill that blank in before full board next week.
Sure.
And I think it can be disseminated digitally. And then if folks have more questions, we can talk about it in caucus.
Are there specific questions you would like me to have them answer?
Can we not have to do this because we're Oakland County and we're better than everyone else? It's basically
That's exactly how
the bottom line. I think we have the second most busiest airport in the state. I mean,
Yes, we do.
come with some
We're not gonna not sign contracts.
pizzazz.
Maybe just understand the money.
My big question is why?
My question is, what's the
Right.
T?
The only answer I haven't been able to receive from that is for efficiency.
Right.
Streamline
It's
the juicy backstory.
Yeah, there's more to it, but we appreciate you. I think you have one more.
Exactly, yeah.
No? No, that was it, okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Something to do with the problem.
All right, on to PECs. Item 9G, Economic Development, Oakland County Transit Division,
So happy, are you?
2024 Amendment to of People's Express Interlocal Agreement for Expanded Services, including the City of Novi.
Yeah.
Can I get a motion on that?
Yay
Moved
for
by Ramen, supported by Markham and Eli. Hello again.
That can
Can
happen.
you hear us?
Morning again, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The item before you is a request for a contract amendment. It is a two-component item, although the overall ask is to increase the amount by 3.36 million to 5,357,108 for People's Express. The two components, and I look at them both as good news. In the world of transit services, good news means that folks are riding and that they're exceeding what our expectations were when we adopted our budgets. And therefore, we need to add additional resources in order to continue to serve the communities well. The first aspect of this budget amendment is a reflection on the increased demand for services within the current PEC service area. This precedes the second part, which will be bringing the City of Novi in. But what's occurring is that PECs are experiencing both more trips and longer trips than were projected when we went through the amendment process for 2024. So all totaled, the request is for 577,000 as an increase over the base that was adopted for expanding services to the existing communities, comprised of about 260,000 for 3 additional vehicles and 315,000 in additional operating costs. The second component of this amendment is the much awaited expansion into the City of Novi. And again, that's one of the communities that provided transit services within their community in the pre-millage vote era, and that we have been working with them and with People's Express in order to bring them into the constellation of CVTs served by the authorities that are under contract or agreement with us, the county. We currently have a very strong coordination going on between City of Novi staff and People's Express, working through all the details. The start date for the services would be July 1. The request is for both vehicles. In this instance, in order to meet the needs of the City of Novi, be about 1.3, a little over $1.3 million for 15 transit vans. And I just want to stop for a minute and reflect on the 15 vans. Compared to the City of Novi and its current program, they had a handful, 5 vehicles that they would use to provide the local services that their community residents would require within their driving area. Recognizing that similar to the other People's Express communities, as well as throughout the entire county, as we have created these, and I'll refer to it as sub-regional authorities, so WOTA has expanded, NOTA has expanded, the travel boundaries within People's Express have been removed. What we're seeing is more people traveling further, exactly what the millage anticipated. And so the additional vehicle fleet is for more people that are going to have access to more destinations that are going to require more travel time and travel expense. So 15 vehicles replacing the 5 that the city has operated historically is what both PEC's analysis and our review of that information supports. And in order to provide the services for those vehicles and the additional residents coming on board, we're looking at 1.479 million, yielding the total ask for this amendment for 3.36 million, increasing the overall allocation for People's Express to 5.357108, as I mentioned earlier. So those are the statistics and finances about the item before you. I'd be prepared to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Eli. Let's start with Commissioner Rahman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this did come through Transit Ad Hoc earlier this week. We had a very good discussion on this, and I'm glad to see this finally making its way to the table. It's long overdue, so I'm very excited about that. Fully in support of it. I know we talked about some numbers and the fact that this is a higher cost than we anticipated. The truth of the matter is everything costs what it does. Eli, one question for you that didn't come up in transit is what is the availability of these vehicles? Presuming this all passes and everything is good to go, do we know, are we still good in terms of availability for that July 1st timeline?
As best as we know, as of this time, the answer is yes for both operators or drivers, dispatchers, and for the vehicle fleet expansion.
Because I know at one point we were saying it was probably at least 6 months out, but it looks like that window has shortened now, or at least PEX has been ahead of the curve in ordering.
Yeah, they have been doing their advanced work. Again, this conversation's been ongoing for several months, and that they have placed their reservations for vehicles and have been going through the recruiting and training of staff.
Perfect, thank you.
Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to continue that theme, do they have adequate drivers and have they been trained so that when this starts July 1st, they've got what they need? Now, I think I heard you say yes.
As best as I know right now, the answer is yes.
So the number of 3.369 million that it's gonna cost us to ramp up to do this comes really kind of close to a $4 million number that the city's been throwing around saying, we're paying $4 million in tax dollars for transit, what are we getting? And I like this number because it brings us a lot closer to that figure for talking purposes. I don't know if it's, necessarily a correlation, but the numbers are in the range that I would expect to see for what we're doing. And I think it satisfies the idea that Novi is going to be getting transit that they are actually paying for, right? Which has always been one of their big concerns.
I would just like to point out to the committee that this is the cost for the PEX demand responsive service. I would also note that SMART offers fixed route services and paratransit accompanying their fixed route. So this is a piece of the overall county investment in transit services within the city of Novi. I don't have a separate number to if you will, pencil out what the actual cost for that small segment of SMART's overall route structure. But we can work through some of those numbers if it's of the committee's interest.
I don't need real specifics. It just is ballpark falling in the same range where we expected it to be and where there were concerns coming from the city leadership that they weren't necessarily getting what they're paying for. This takes a big step toward solving that, I think.
With fixed routes, they're getting much more than.
Right. I have one more question, and that is the 5 vehicles that belong to the city right now and the drivers associated with them, what happens to them?
So as I understood it, we've seen in other communities that have folded into operators that the vehicles were of an age and mileage that had utility. The Novi vehicles were either aged or miled out of being available in terms of reliability that PEX would have preferred. So those are assets the city of Novi will dispose of as they see fit. But the vehicles themselves are not being folded in based on the standard parameters of age and mileage on equipment for public service. With respect to the drivers, I believe People's Express has made an offer to the drivers, and some of them have come on board. I don't have those precise numbers, but we can get that information for you.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know what happened with the drivers. And then my last question is, how is this gonna be, I thought I saw Evelina on the call, but she may be gone. How is this gonna be communicated to the residents of Novi so that they know what the service is that's available to them?
Okay, Madam Commissioner, I did, Evelina is still on the call, and she did text me that 11 drivers are planning on coming over, some part-time and some full-time.
That's great. Okay, so the communication question, how will this be rolled out to the community?
So again, People's Express has been coordinating closely with the city of Novi using the channels of communication that have been developed by the city for the purposes of communicating with their residents. We, Oakland County, are also in the process of reviewing the materials that are provided to make sure that they have the appropriate information and acknowledge the effort that the county's made in order to support the introduction of this service. And that will continue. Primarily, those conversations occur between the operators and the communities and the riders. But in addition to that, the registered riders with the city of Novi, that whole roster will be provided to PEX, and they'll be reaching out to the individuals above and beyond the public communications that are going to occur in the standard media markets, newsletters and the like.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rahman?
Just quickly to Commissioner Markham's point, so they're working with Cheryl at City of Novi, and they've outlined an entire plan for the next 60 days or whatever it is in terms of media blitz and getting stuff out to the press, getting flyers in the mail. So they're pretty aggressive, and I confirmed that with Sarah as well last week, Eli. So it sounds like that process is ongoing and already
great
figured out, so.
Terrific, thanks for the update. Seeing no other hands, we'll go ahead and prompt the vote.
I'm happy to vote.
9G.
Yes, I messed it up. I did, well, I went to refresh too soon. I did.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
KA 0.
Awesome, that motion carries. Thank you so much,
I knew I was in a
Commissioner.
We have this job.
Next up is item 9H, the Office of Sustainability Community Energy Management Grant Application with the State of Michigan, Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, otherwise known as EGLE. And this is a recommendation to the board. Is there a motion? Thank you, Commissioner Spiz, supported by Commissioner Miller. And Erin, good morning, welcome again.
Hello, thank you very much. The proposal is to seek approval to apply for the Community Energy Management Grant, the CEM grant. It is a pretty broad grant that allows communities to do energy efficiency planning or energy management. It also allows for a variety of other things that aren't going to be asked for in this particular round, but maybe in the future, such as EVs, EV infrastructure, et cetera. This particular request is $100,000 to help supplement the energy management RFP that we have out for the energy management plan of the campus. As you remember, I came to you before with the EECBG funding, which was the formula-based fund. This is just to complement that. We've had a lot of conversations with various folks at the state and other advisors that they really want people to apply for this. There's still funding available. And so we said, why not go after it and see if it's something that we can get. There's going to be a couple more iterations of it too. I think that this one closes sometime in the late summer, early fall, and then another round will open. So effectively, we may be able to apply for multiple rounds even this year. So that's the request.
Wonderful. Yesterday during public health and safety, there was a lot of chat about grants and the capacity and everything. You seem to be staying on top of it, just as an observation. But I think there was some conversation at the table yesterday about capacity with that. So,
Yes.
you know, whoever's here from exec, I guess Walt would be that person, just making sure, you know, if you needed additional support on that to just, you know, keep him in the fold, I suppose is the best way to put it.
Sure.
Any questions for Aaron on this item, 9H? Yes,
I just have
Commissioner
one,
Spitz?
it's more, it's not specific to this, but if I recall reviewing the package, there was a presentation about the steam plant in this request.
Correct, okay.
Is that coming before us eventually to have that discussion?
Good question. So right now with the current energy RFP is to identify what would the transition from the steam plant require. And so we don't quite have any data or information on that right now, but certainly as soon as we're able to figure that out, we would definitely bring that.
Awesome, thank you.
And this would also just help with identifying the different steps we would need to take to look into that data collection, evaluation, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions coming before us for this item, let's prompt the vote.
It's because you put in a couple notes today, so
Yeah.
you're banned.
I'm over my limit. Yes.
They know that.
You have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Item 9I is Economic Development, Business Development, Grant Application with the State of Michigan Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for the 2024 Michigan Brownfield Redevelopment Grant, Rochester Riverfront Place Project. This is a motion to recommend to the board, Commissioner Spitz, supported by Commissioner Long. And I think Bradley Hanson, yes, and Kristen.
Clean up some property.
Thank you guys. If you wanna give us a little background here.
Sure. This is a grant application to the Michigan Eagle Department. This grant is for cleanup of contamination in downtown Rochester, a project that's gonna be a housing project right along the Clinton River Trail in Clinton River in downtown Rochester. Through historic use, there's some metals and petroleum in the ground that needs to be removed and taken off site, along with water management for the site. So this $1 million only covers a portion of the actual cleanup costs. The remainder will be covered through the City of Rochester's Brownfield plan that's already been passed to reimburse the developer for their excessive costs in the cleanup of the contamination.
Okay. Any questions for Bradley on this brownfield situation? Pretty standard in terms of, you know, the law and the rules.
Good project.
If nothing further, let's go.
Clean out dirty old brownfields.
Go ahead and prompt the
have the
vote.
state pay for it.
Came out. As long as I don't touch anything, they're fresh and good.
Miller,
Yes.
you have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you, that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you both and have a good rest of the week.
You know?
That takes us to item 9J, Facilities Planning and Engineering, Cost Participation Agreement with the Road Commission for Oakland County for the County Center Drive East Paving Project. I'll take a motion to recommend and forward to finance, moved by Whitebird, supported by Markham. And Jason was here?
He was just here. He was here.
Okay, Jason, for Ed. It's up now.
You're up now.
My team is here.
Never a doubt.
Good morning.
Morning. Jason, we're definitely familiar with you.
Yes, so I have Misty rates with me today. She's also with our facilities management team. I'm gonna present today. She will be overseeing a lot of our capital projects moving forward. So you will see her as well in the future.
Okay, welcome, thank you.
Today, we are bringing a resolution in front of you to repave part of County Center Drive. So this would be the loop, east loop, from Telegraph in front of the sheriff's office, animal shelter, all the way up to the corner where the medical examiner's facility is. We've contracted with the road commission on this, similar to how the south end of the road was repaved a few years back. The road commission provided all the design and engineering services for us. They bid out the project and they will proceed with construction administration with their field crews, their contractors. So the total project cost is just over $2.5 million. It's funded within the existing capital improvement plan. So we're seeking approval for reference to finance.
All right. Sounds decent and in order. Do we have any questions? Oh, yeah. Mr. Miller for 6 minutes. Your name shows up twice.
Hey, thank you, Madam Chair. Question I have is, did I hear you saying, I read in here that the road commission's gonna solicit proposals for this?
Yeah.
They already have.
They already have. Did they go through the county's purchasing policy or did they go through their own?
They went through their own.
We incorporated the county's purchasing policy with their policies.
So they went through the, responsible bidding?
Correct.
Yeah, they used our terms, but they went through their own procurement.
Do we know who the contractor is?
The lowest responsible contractor
Is Cadillac Asphalt.
Cadillac, okay.
I believe they received 5 bids and they were pretty competitive with each other.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Spiz, followed by Commissioner Markham.
Quick question, I noticed as part of the project, are we moving and or relocating 3 light posts? Were they replacing the entire light post at the same time or just moving them? Do you know that? So Gwen's gonna ask my follow-up question, I believe.
We're
LED.
Or solar.
So we are installing a new base
Right.
at the new location and then we're using the
So reusing the existing lights, okay, thank you.
You don't have street lights either, are you?
Okay, thank you.
Should be
Next,
Gwen.
Commissioner Markham.
Probably won't, but my question is, when I read this, I thought you meant the entrance down there, cause it's so bad too.
Right, that's what I said.
So as I read it, I thought, oh, great, they're gonna fix that, and then as I'm looking at the map, oh no, they're talking about by the sheriff. So my question is, the next piece of this, when's that plan to be done? Cause I hate the idea that people come to the county and it's in disrepair. That first impression to me makes, it's like the bathroom here, it's just a first impression and we're better than that. So my question is, when's I don't know if you'd call that the south side or the whatever part of the circuit, of the circle.
I go out that way more.
Is it planned at all to be done?
Not in the next few years. I don't recall when that was repaved, but that part was redone before this section has been.
We've identified the needs that you see around campus, and those are on our high priority list, and we're putting together a plan. So hopefully we can pull forward some of these projects so that they're not in the 5 to 10-year window. We would like to pull those forward. So the plan is in the process.
5 years
Yes.
and we're gonna be in trouble.
Yes.
Just go back to
Yeah.
Okay. Just so you know that it's important to us. That's why I bring it
We
up.
appreciate that.
Thank you. That's all I had.
No, good observation, thank you. I believe that.
Just don't wanna tell us.
Commissioner
So
Robin?
I know we're already over on time, but since Jason's here, I'm just gonna ask him a quick question. Any updates in our bathroom?
Oh, yeah, there are.
Yeah, so it's moving along. We had some discussions this morning. We have another door to cut in on the hallway here. It's gonna affect some of the marble panels. Hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be able to remove the temporary wall here. So demo is about 90% complete now. so we can start reconstruction. Some of the walls on this side have already been framed out.
So ETA is still.
We're still a month or two away before we can actually.
ETA is working on it.
We have a project schedule, I can get that to you.
Just curious, just I mean, the less time we have to deal with this would be nice.
Appreciate everybody's patience.
Yeah, for sure. We can, since we're behind schedule, but there's a couple of elements not germane, but certainly just for elevation. With that, I think that was all for questions on this item. Let's go ahead and prompt the vote.
Oh, wait.
Oh, hello, Commissioner. Jump in.
If I may, Madam Chair, just a question.
Listen, we're listening.
Is he driving? Oh, awesome. Yes. Yes. So I was looking at the map earlier, and something that's interesting about our campus is the cloverleaf left turns, and I'm just wondering, since one of them is included in this area, have we did you look at eliminating the cloverleaf and reconfiguring the traffic lights as part of the redevelopment plan for this stretch?
I don't believe so. We could follow up with the road commission to see what studies they've had, but.
But you have to go back to MDOT because it affects
Telegraph road to MDOT, yeah.
Did you hear that, Commissioner?
Okay. I did, yeah. I guess it's okay. All right. For what it's worth, I think that it's highly odd and very early mid 20th century that we have cloverleaf exits on our campus. But that's my 2 cents, and I just would love to see those erased. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. And add 50 million to that 2 cent and we can make it happen.
Well, I would hazard that it would save the project money by not having to reconstruct a cloverleaf.
Less paving. Well, thank you for that. And it's certainly not falling on deaf ears. I can see Jason and is it Misty's letting that noodle around in their brains. Walt had a small conniption at the idea, but it's okay.
Mostly my conniption was I'm kind of closer to mid 20th century myself, so I wasn't quite sure how to take that.
So noted, and thank you, Commissioner. Anything further on this item? We'll then go ahead and prompt the vote.
We gotta fix this.
Markham?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Biz?
Yes.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, Matt. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 9K, Board of Commissioners, fiscal year 2024 appropriation for the local road improvement program. I'll take a motion to recommend to the board. Moved by Wiper, supported by Miller. And oh, that's what that was. Oh, yeah. Amy, did you want to talk a little bit about this? Since you did the heavy lift for the most part.
Step 7 guns.
So this is our annual local road improvement program appropriation. The committee met this morning to review and approve the applications. We've got $2,514 in eligible projects. The unspent funds for this year is only $29,417 from communities that are not participating. Those communities are Bingham Farms, Franklin, Holly, and Northville. Otherwise, we had a great response to the program this year. A little bit unique this year, we did have a request from the Village of Leonard as well as the City of Pontiac to repurpose some past funding from canceled projects towards this year's proposed projects, so those are incorporated into the resolution. And so if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Leonard repurpose them, but change the project.
So that is the update from the LRIP program fiscal year 2024. And just making sure there's no questions. And seeing none, we can then go ahead and prompt the vote. Since we're behind time, I won't belabor on Northville, but yeah.
I'm gonna just mention it to them, why didn't they apply this year? Because I know they have in the past, but they don't have a lot of county roads.
Yeah, 780, yes.
All right, that motion carries, and that means I get to make an announcement. We will set a public hearing for the Oakland County Board of Commissioners meeting on Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024 at 6 p.m. for the resolution fiscal year 2024 appropriation for the local road improvement program.
Very good. Nice.
All right, now's the time, if you just want to stand up in front of your chair, you can. But I do need I do have the language, don't I? The chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of considering the purchase or lease of property.
I'll move it.
Moved by Markham, supported by Miller,
Kind of a nice piece.
and we will do a prompt, we'll prompt the vote for that.
Taking over.
I should vote no, just to be.
It's gonna shut you down.
He got his prompt that time, huh? Cause he had a couple yeses in a row.
On the close.
Did you vote no on this? I just don't wanna go into closed session.
Yeah.
We have 7 yeas and 0 nays.
We'll try to be quick. And I think it takes about 3.9 minutes for them to just get out of this
All right, let me
and into the
stand up a
next.
minute.
Yeah.
He's getting eight.
Yeah, they what?
I know, I don't
So you're all.
I'm gonna
part
emulate
of
you.
the
We have time to leave and come back.
No.
Well, I'm not
Did they-
part
so we
of
canceled?
But you're with,
They just said we only get to stand by our chairs.
Well, it came across as canceled.
I don't understand that. He asked me, he's like, can you do a
waiting. Mike and I, Mike Keys and I had a long discussion about
Is that red
special
light mean we're
projects
on
again
here?
to try
Yeah,
and
we're on
define
here.
out some categories. So that eventually, and hopefully it's already
Oh, put them in
by
category?
budget,
Broadcasting, I mean,
by budget hearings, that we have a set, I could hand you a piece of paper and you can say, my project
Goes
either
in
fits
there.
here, here, or
That's
here.
good.
So that's what we're trying to work on, so it's standardized.
Save some of the long debates.
We have everybody here?
And one
We
of
should be
the
done.
Do we have a written motion?
level one is
Yeah, you can, yeah.
would be
Okay.
10,000 or less.
All right, I will entertain a motion
Why
that,
argue with that?
Right.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I will entertain a motion that the department be authorized to proceed in a.
Point of order. Don't we have to take reattendance, come back?
Yes,
You have to open it.
you have to take attendance again.
Yeah, not typically, but we certainly can.
Those, we don't?
No,
because
I've
no one's
never,
supposed to really leave.
Oh, right.
Don't you have to go back into open session officially?
I already did that. Before we even opened the doors, I declared it.
Well, we gotta declare it with the door open. Okay.
All right, just say it.
I declare the meeting is back in open session. Light's been
I will
on for
make
a
a
while now.
motion that we authorize the department to
Proceed.
proceed as discussed in closed session.
Is there
Second.
support? Thank you. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? We can go ahead and prompt the vote.
Okay. Is that it? Can I sign
Got
out?
7 yeas and 0 nays.
Can we
Excellent.
sign out
Thank
now?
you.
Or not sign out? Can we go to
Motion
agenda?
carries.
Public comment.
Public comment? Anything under the sun? 3 minutes? Public comment, sir? Okay. Public comment is officially closed. Is there any other business to come before this committee?
No. Leave meeting.
Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Join meeting.